On today's tutorial, we're going to talk all about the studio and their wonky grid slideshow that looks like this at the top. It's a really cool effect, and this site has won lots of awards, such as Site Inspire features, so you might be wondering, how is this made? Now, I asked a few professional developers how they go about this, and they said, I quote, looks hard, definitely a few work. Another one said, a few hundred, maybe thousands of lines of code, and another one said, I'm not even sure how I'd go about this. But actually, it's pretty simple. So we are going to make our very own version that looks like this. And this is only tens of lines of code, so very easy to make. So as we go through, we get the same kind of effect when we click through. So in today's video, we're going to talk all about a wonky grid slideshow. So let's start somewhere. I've just quickly built a website with a 3-column grid. So let's have a look at what I've just done. So I've got a index.html with a header in here with h1 and nav. Then I've got a section, which is doing my 3-column grid. For each grid item, I've got a div tag. And inside each div tag, I've got a figure, which is just holding the content. And I've got this 6 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's have a look at the style sheet. It's fairly simple. I've got my usual kind of setup of typography. I've got my header with a flex, and then I've got my section with a 3-column grid and a gap. And down here, I've just got my kind of usual setup, just kind of making it look kind of what we have right now. I've also attached a not style sheet, a JavaScript here with slides.js. And at the moment, this is just fairly empty. I've got my section, which is selecting the whole grid area, and then I'm individually selecting the slides area. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So let's have a look at what we're trying to do. Now, on my final design, what I want it to have is basically all of these in a row, kind of like a slideshow. So let's have a look at how we could do that. Well, if I look at my actual CSS, what I have here in my section is this div template columns. I'm repeating f, one fraction 3 times. This is equivalent of writing it like this: 1fr space 1fr space 1fr. So this is 1 fraction 3 times. So we get a 3-column grid. But let's make it 6 or as many items as we have. So I'm going to add more. 1 fraction for all of these. I'm going to say this. What do we get? All of these being in a row. Now, of course, what I could start to do is change some of the sizing in here to make them different ones. But what I want to do is not see all of them right now. Maybe I want to just see the first 3. Now, what could I do to do this? Well, I could say this, this, and this, the last 3 of them, maybe they shouldn't take up any space. So what I could say for the last 3 is say 0fr, which is 0 fraction, and 0, 0, 0 at the end. So let's save that and see what we get. Now what we get here is this tries to take up all this space, but we'll see these 3 kind of squeezing in here. Basically what it's trying to do is fill the space, and there is some text here, so it's kind of filling the text and kind of breaking the grid a little bit. Now what is happening here is something called an overflow. Basically the text is trying to get out of its space and say, hey, I'm here, you should notice me, basketball, I'm a basketball. So what we want to do is say, hey, I don't want to see anything that's overflowing here. So instead, what we're going to say on this div tag is hide anything that would normally go outside of that space. To do this in our CSS, we're going to add underneath here on the section space div overflow hidden. So we want to hide anything that would usually go outside of the space. And what we see here is those 3 items disappear. Now, one thing you might notice as well is there is this gap on the kind of right-hand side. So even though we're not seeing that kind of grid item, it's still showing the gaps between those grid items as well. So we don't really want this, but it's just part of how grid works. So what do we need to do here? Well, at the moment we have this gap of 1 rem. Rem is just basically the font size. If it's 16 pixels font size, this gap is 16 pixels if it's 1 rem. I want this to be no gap instead, because I want to fake it. So I'm going to say no gap here. So what we'll get is this kind of looking right on the right hand side, but we have no gap between the items now. But what I'm going to do is style up my individual content to pretend there is a gap instead. So I'm going to go down to my figure, and where I've got padding 0 right now, I'm going to fake the gap instead by adding half on each side, 1.5 rem. So this is going to pretend that there's some gap. So this is a 1 rem gap, but this again has kind of made a little bit extra on the edges. So this quite hasn't lined up, kind of similar to what we had from before. So I need to just fix this by changing this padding on the whole section as well, just to kind of align. You see the title here doesn't quite align here, so I'm going to make this one half rem on the section. So this has an alignment now. This is basically faking what we've got, except now there's 3 that we can't see. What I can start to play around with now is the idea of changing some of these sizes in here. So what I'm going to do is, instead of this being 1, 1, 1, maybe it's something like 4, 5, and 2. And if I save this now, what we'll get is something that looks like this. This is 4, 5, and 2. So 4 11ths, 5 11ths, and 2 11ths. Now, the idea of what we were trying to do on the main kind of slideshow is change this on click or on some kind of automated timer. So every 5 seconds, this is going to change. So what we want to start to do is add a little bit of JavaScript in here to basically take control of this. So what I want to do is when I click on the section, I want to update this line of code to be something different. So I get this kind of slide change effect. So to do this, I'm going to go into my slides.js. This is connected to my index.html. I've got my section and my slides in here. What I want to do is say when I click on section, I want to update sections grid template columns to something else. So what we're going to do in here is we're going to make a new function. We're going to say constant next slide. And this is going to be equal to a function which is round brackets, arrow, curly brackets. Now what I want to do in here is say when I run next slide, I'm just going to basically make this up for now. Section, I want to change its style on the grid, templates, columns to be equal to something else. So for now, I'm just going to say with backtick, I'm going to say this is something like 5FR, 2FR, 3FR, 0FR, 0FR, 0FR. So what this should do is just change the kind of relationship of the first 3. Now, if I save this, what we'll see is this kind of stays as is. It stays as 4, 5, 2. So this function never runs right now. What I want to do is run it on the click. To do this, I'm going to say, let's pick the section and then listen out for any click. When I do a click, run next slide. So section.add event listener. I want to run this using round brackets, and what I want to listen out for is on click. What do I want to do on click? Well, I want to do comma, next, slide. So basically, when I do this, I want to run this thing. I'm going to save this, and let's actually see what happens. So now if I refresh and I click, what we'll see is the layout changes. So again, if I refresh, I change from this and I change to that. So the toothbrush gets bigger and my flower gets smaller because I've changed the ratio of these two things. Now this is instant, as we just saw, but we could transition this. If we want to transition this, we're going to do this in some CSS. So I'm just going to pop back to my style.css, and where I've got my section, I'm going to say, let's add a transition on the grid, template, columns. How long do we want to do this over? Maybe something like 0.4s. So 0.4 of a second. Let's save and let's see this again. I'm going to refresh. And when I click now, we'll get this transition effect. If I want to slow this down, I'll just make that number bigger. So what we're going to do next is say, well, I don't need to just go between this and I'm clicking again and again. This is always going to stay, move from this to this next one. What I want to do is have this almost as a slideshow instead. So to do this, what I need to basically keep track of is what slide are we on right now? And if we are on a certain slide, what should these numbers be in here? So that's what I'm going to set up just next. So up here, I'm going to say let index be equal to 0. Now index is just going to control what number slide that we're on right now. Index is just kind of saying which one of these slides should we be at. Now with this, what I'm also going to do is say, well, let's make the numbers of what this should be. Let's say let there be a pattern. And this is going to be equal to an array. An array is just a list of things. Now the list is going to be first slide, second slide, third slide, and so on. So I'm just going to open these up a little bit more. But what is the first slide? Well, the first slide is just a list of numbers. It could be 4, 5, 2, 0, 0, 0. So in here, I'm going to make another list. I'm going to make a list of 4, 5, 2, 0, 0, 0. So this is the first state. Now, the second state is going to be what I want to change it to, which is 5, 2, 3, 0, 0, 0. So in here, I'm going to do the next one, which is 5, 2, 3, 0, 0, 0. Maybe this is going to look a little bit different, so I'm going to just change this to something a little bit. I've got some numbers that work quite well. I'm just going to change this to 4522. So there's going to be 4 slides on here now. We're going to go from 3 to 4. And what I'm just going to do is start adding these numbers. And again, these are just numbers that I think look good. And again, you can change these to be whatever you want them to be. And this is basically all of the slides that we have in here. So I'm just going to quickly add these in. And the last one is just going to be 1, 1, 1. So this is my pattern. I'm going to go from here, each one down, and when I get to the end, I want to go back to the start. So what I want to do now is when I click the slide, I want this index to go up 1. I want to go from 0, this first one, to the next one. When I click it again, I want to go from 2 to 3. Next one, 3 to 4. Next one, 4 to 5, and so on. So in my next slide, what I want to do is take the current index and add 1 to it, plus equal 1. But what I could get is on the last slide, I want to go back to the start. So here what I want to do is say, if I'm at the last slide, I want to go back around and loop back around. To do this, I'm going to use something called a modulo, which is almost like remainder. So if you remember from elementary school math, it's like 4 remainder 2 is 0. So here we're going to say, we're going to do a remainder. So when we get to the end, we're going to do % equals, and then pattern dot length. So depending on how many things we have in here, when we get to the end of the pattern, how many things there are in the pattern, go back to the start. So we've got the index, but what we want to do now is fill in this info. So I'm going to get rid of section, style, grid, temple, columns, and this bit equals to that. But what I want to do instead now is pick from this list instead. So I want to pick pattern, which is all of this, and then square brackets, I want to pick which one we're talking about, index, and this is just going to be a single array. So when I pick the first slide, I'm picking all of this. What I want to do is go over each item in here and make it 4FR, 5FR, 2FR rather than 452. So here I'm going to say dot map. Dot map basically takes what the individual item is and turns it into something else. So here what I'm going to say is something like a function, and then I'm going to give each item in here something like P for each part. And this is going to return back in our backticks P, FR. This is still an array though. So what this is right now is it's basically 4FR, comma, 5FR, comma, 2FR, and so on. What I want to do is just turn this into a string. So at the end of this, I'm going to say dot join and do a string with a space in it, because it's 2FR space, 5FR space, so on. So let's save this and see what happens. If I save it now, what we'll get is something like this. We'll start off on the first slide as this. I'll go to the next slide, then the next slide, then the next slide, and the next slide. And when I'm at the end, I will go back to the start. So one thing you might notice when things start to come in and fade out, especially when we kind of see them coming in here, I kind of want them to like fade in versus just slide in and get wider. So what I want to do is say, if I don't see them right now, I kind of want to fade them out. And when they come in, I want to fade them in. So what we're going to do is add an extra bit to this. So in our JavaScript, the kind of idea of what we want to do is say, if this is 0, I want to fade it out. If it's not 0, I want to fade it in. So we're going to add a little bit of code in here. What I want to do is go over each slide and basically see what the number matches to. If it's the first slide, then it's 0. Well, if it's 0, fade it away. If it's not 0, such as 2 or 1 or 2 or 4 or 5 or any other number beyond 0, then don't fade it. So here what we're going to say is slides dot for each. Now we're going over each individual slide and then matching it to a pattern. So we're going to run this, and I'm going to run it with some code. I'm going to say function in here, round brackets, arrow, curly brackets. Because JavaScript gives us some things in for free, I can say what each slide is. So I'm just going to name this slide. And it also gives us something else as well. We can say comma, slide index. So the first thing in a function for each is always the thing itself, such as a slide. And then the second thing is always what number it is. So if it's the second thing in here, this will be 1 because things come from 0. So here, if I'm at the first slide, I can just match them up. So I'm going to open this code up, these curly brackets, and what I want to do in here is check against what? Well, I want to check if the pattern index is equal to 0. So we're going to do an if statement, round brackets, curly brackets. In here, what we want to check is for the pattern, the current pattern's index, which is the thing that makes this, so this kind of line up here. But then we want to pick which slide we're talking about in this. So I've picked this, and I want to pick this or this or this. So I'm also going to put in here some square brackets, slide index. So this is going to pick from this whole thing called a matrix. We're going to pick the line and then the column, like the row and the column here. And what we want to check for is if this is equal to 0, what we want to do is add a class. If it's not 0, we want to remove the class. So on this slide, I want to go to its class list. I want to add a class of hide. This is going to fade it out. If it's not this, else, we're going to take that slide and the class list and remove hide from it. So basically we're just saying, does this slide at the moment, is it 0 width? If it is, add a class. If it's not, remove that class. So at the moment, this class of hide doesn't do anything. Let's go and make it do something. So here what I can say is on the section, if I have a div with hide, what I want it to be is opacity 0. So let's see how this looks. If I go back to my slide, notice this just disappears instantly. But what I want it to do is fade. So I'm going to add a transition on my div, my general div. I'm also going to say opacity 1 by default, but let's add a transition of opacity, and let's just make this something like 0.4 of a second as well, just to kind of match the transition. And what we can see here is these fade out and also fade in as well. So we can see here that we get this effect looking really nice very quickly. Now, the last thing we're going to do is at the moment, this slideshow only works on click. So when I click, we always go to the next slide. But what we might want to do is make this automatic. So there's two ways to think about this. One is we can do something called an interval, which runs every 5 seconds, or we can use something called a timeout, which is saying, do this after 5 seconds once. Now, which one are we going to use? Now, I'm going to show you why we use one versus the other. Now, the first one we're going to try is actually in our JavaScript again. What we can say here at the bottom is say set interval. And what I want to do is run next slide, comma, every so often. This is in milliseconds. So let's say every 2000 milliseconds, which is 1 second. So if I just save this and run it, what we'll get now is this is automatic. My hands are off my mouse, and what I can say is this starts to run, which looks good. But what happens if I start to click? Like, notice what happens is it doesn't always work as expected, because what is happening right now is it's doing this and the click. What I really want to do is say, well, run this after the click. What I mean by that is say, well, if I've just clicked, wait 2 seconds for the next thing to slide, because I might want it to be like, oh, this keeps, it's going too quick. I'm clicking and this is moving at the same time. So what I'm going to do is say, actually, we're going to wait 5 seconds till the next thing that we want to do. So to do this, I'm just going to add up here something called let timeout. And I'm going to change set interval to set timeout. I'm also going to make this equal to timeout as well. So at the end, I'm going to say timeout is this set timeout. Now, what this will do right now is just run this once. So if I run this and refresh, hands off, 2 seconds, it's run, but it never runs again. Now, what I can do is then start to click, and this will run as expected. But what I want to do is say, well, once the next slide's run, let's set up for the next time to run again. So what I'm going to say here at the bottom of my next slide is let's clear anything that might be running right now, clear timeout for this thing called timeout, and let's run it next time. Timeout is equal to set timeout next slide 2000. Now, what this means is that the click isn't going to interfere with the timeout. It's saying, if I have clicked, wait 2 seconds for the next thing to happen. So if I refresh now and I click, 2 seconds, and then another 2 seconds, I'm not clicking. But if I click now, it's going to wait 2 seconds after the click, rather than just saying, hey, I'm running every 2 seconds, and if you click me, I'll still keep running anyway. And this makes the slideshow feel a lot more natural, and it doesn't interfere if our user clicks. It waits, and it waits 2 seconds for the next thing to happen. And what we get is a slideshow that looks like this. So let's just recap what we've done here. We've made the main feature on a award-winning website in around about 20 minutes. When I've talked to professional coders about this, one quoted it'd be several days of work, and another one quoted it would be hundreds, if not thousands of lines of JavaScript, but we've done it in around about 40, 41 lines of JavaScript. So just keep this in mind. So some things that can look very complex can be deceptively simple. It's just we're remixing things that have never been done on the internet before in a brand new way. Now, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a like. It lets me know if you enjoyed this, and I'll do more of these in the future. If there's anything you want me to cover, please put it in the comments below. And there hopefully should be 2 videos here for you to watch.